Alrighty, my friends. Hello and welcome to another episode of Talk Power BI on Fridays. This is our hangout. And yeah, if you haven't hit the subscribe button yet, make sure you hit subscribe and click that bell. Yes, that bell is important. That way you get notified whenever I go live to answer your Power BI questions. So I'm just going to say hi to everybody first. That's my favorite part. Let me know if the audio is working, if the video is working, you can see me. If you do want to join the Talk Power BI Insiders Club, just go to talkpowerbi.com, and it's got lots of goodies. And of course, the biggest benefit is that you get to hang out with me and look at my bow tie. Cool. So who do we have on our phones? And let's say we got Carl, Heather, Lisa, and Steve. Steve, always good to have you here. So Steve is also going to be helping me moderate the YouTube comments because sometimes I get carried away talking about Power BI. Steve, perfect. So Steve, awesome. So you can see Steve with the wrench icon there. That just means he's a moderator there. Who is joining us online today? Donald Parrish is here from Nebraska. What does that mean? Abadmus says hello. Power BI in Dubai says hi. Good to have you here, my friend. Daisy Bell says hello. Nice YouTube handle. I like that. Jen Abel is here, of course. I love seeing repeat visitors. So Jen, good to have you here. Mark says audio and video is good. Awesome. You can't really see my thumb, can you? Drew says hello. And Mula Gete says hello. Something like that. Sheila says hello from Fort Worth, Texas. Awesome. So today, do we have a few announcements? We do. So Tuesday, October 16th, 10 a.m., I have an invite from my friend Charles Sterling, to run a webinar, and the title is Build Impactful Financial Dashboards Using Microsoft Power BI. And guys, I'll show you what I'll be presenting on Tuesday. So today is going to be slightly different. It's going to be a little more focused. Still going to be a lot of fun. But this is a classic dashboard that I had built for Microsoft Finance, and it certainly stood the test of time. And I have implemented this or a version of this, maybe slightly customized, for so many of my clients out there, and many students have taken this from me and adapted it for their own. Now, this is I do cover kind of step by step on how to build this dashboard inside my course, but on this webinar, I will be giving you kind of a tour of it, kind of a high-level overview. There's only so much you can fit in an hour. And yeah, so you're going to get access to that. So that's coming Tuesday, October 16th. I'm also probably going to, make it a little bit shinier because, Power BI has changed a bit since I did this last. So yeah, we'll see. Maybe a little shinier version of that. All right, so what are we going to be talking about today? Sam is here. Sam, again, good to see you always. Vivek says hi from Dallas. Peter says hello. All right, so what today I want to talk about is something that came up in our class. And let me see if I can bring it up for you guys. All right, perfect. So if you don't work with finance, just think of it as an example. Imagine yourself in the consultant role, right? And doesn't matter. You could be working 9 to 5 at a company, or you could be an independent consultant, or maybe you want to become an independent consultant. So if you're not in finance, this is a great example because a lot of times people would come to you with data which you don't quite understand, and you just have to kind of make sense of it. And it's a lot of fun. All right, so hey Steve, I just want to make sure that I haven't heard from you yet. You're on, right? Awesome.
Okay.
Cool.
Yes.
Okay, just want to check in. Yep, perfect. Awesome. Okay. Great. And yeah, if you see something in the comments, let me know.
I will.
Awesome. All right, great. So and for the financial folks, maybe this would make perfect sense. And so yep, I get it. So this came up in our class. So the scenario is, and I'm going to play the role of the customer as well as the consultant, right? So client. So the client comes in and says, I have my fiscal data coming in files, right? So these can be physical files or coming from a database, doesn't matter. I mean, the terminology is there. So in January file, I might recognize that, for January, I had a revenue of 100,000, something like that, right? And under this number, underneath that number, is a lot of detail, right? And you can dive into it and see, well, this came from which product, which are the customers who were buying, blah, 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 all of that, right? Which territory, all of that. So, but for this exercise, we're not concerned about that. We just, it's 100,000 for January file. That's the total number. But then February happens, and February has its own number. So in February, revenue was 105,000. But sometimes there are adjustments to the prior periods. It's like, this, I don't know, refunds, something like that. Maybe that's as simple as that. So like, they refunded. So what they bought in January, so it's not fair to ding February for those refunds. So maybe we'll recognize it correctly. So we'll say, this is February file, but the fiscal period, reporting period, is January 1. January 2018. So I just show as a date, but imagine this is January, February, March. And so on and so forth. So, all right, so let me know if this scenario made sense, and especially let me know if somebody, one of you out there, has a scenario like this. I'm like, Avi, oh gosh, yes, please, All right, so I'm going to keep an eye on your comments, and I'll come back and look at them.
Hey, Avi, I have a question. So in the February column, would that 10,000 represent additional revenue in January?
Yeah, that's right. In this case, it does, I guess. Yeah, I was.
So
So
not
somehow.
a refund would be negative.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, I think maybe I should have put negative. That's a more realistic scenario. But there can be. Could there be scenarios? I'm sure there could be. I mean, I've seen all kinds of. Financial adjustments being made to prior periods. So okay, cool. I'm glad you called that out. So some adjustment is being made to the January file. In this case, it's net positive. And again, there can be more detail underneath that, like, this adjustment was which file, blah blah blah, all of that. What happened exactly? All right. So Steve, glad you asked that. Thanks for clarifying. Power BI in Dubai says it's always the case in the world of finance. So pretty typical. So here we have this, and of course, you could look at the number that came in the February file. So this, you can see, kind of done in good old Excel, and it's just summing it up. But that's not that interesting. That's even not relevant in a way. What we are more concerned about is what's the number for that fiscal period. So January file said this, February file said this, March file said this. Well, so we're just gonna sum it all up and get that number. So that number is of interest. All right, with me? Awesome. Let's move on. And now, of course, the things are going to change in August. So watch this. So January, February, March, July, and then August rolls along, and then we have just some more data coming in. An August file comes in, and for August, it's saying up 105,000. That's what everything adds up to. But then it has the typical adjustments in the prior periods, and depends on just whatever's going on. So those numbers are there. So now we can do the same thing. We can say, show me what was January after all the adjustments and all the files, and then show me February and so on and so forth. Right? Okay. Now comes the question. The question is that I want to be able to see this number, but then go back in time and say, I got it. So for now, just imagine you can't see any of this, right? So this is a report, let's say, and we're saying January is 115,000 as of now. What was it in July? Was it the same number? What was it in January itself? What did we originally report in January, right? So go back and forth in time before any of these adjustments happen, right? So imagine if you're looking at April right now is 242,000 as of now. But if we go back in April, it was 102. If you go to May, it was 172, and so forth, right? So we want to be able to go back and forth in time. Cool. Let me know if that made sense. So what DAX would you write, my friends? And I'll wait for you in that. How would you approach this in DAX? Where would you start? Yeah. All right, shout out to Wei and Chad, Dallas and Calgary. Okay, so if you're on the phone, the folks on the phone are in the Learn Power BI family. Always glad to have you guys here. If you have seen me solve it, of course, working with Paul, then don't answer. But if you haven't seen me, then it's fair game. Then you can, on the phone, you can tell me as well. What DAX would you write here? How would you even start? Where would you go? Come on, folks. I'm going to wait for you. Date add. Okay. All right. That's a start. Yeah, Steve, do you have something else in mind?
I'm just thinking of calendar offsets, maybe.
Yeah.
Possibly. I don't know. I'd have to see it.
Yeah. Date add. Rolling totals. Oh boy. So yeah, you guys. Jen, bang on. All right. So this was a bit of a red herring. I led you astray intentionally, and not to misguide you, but to just showcase that it happens all the time. It happens all the time, where when people are talking to me, they're talking very much in terms of a report. Now, some of these answers are really close, if not exactly right. So that's good. Good input there. But the real question is that you to see past the report and look at the data model, right? So if you've heard me talk about modeling, you've heard me say that when I'm sitting down with the client, I ignore 95% of what they say, which is not really true. I write it down for later, but at that point, I'm listening for that 5%, which is gonna tell me how I design the model. So I'm ignoring because they keep talking about what they want in the report. I don't really care about the report at that point. I want to care about the model, because if you build the model right, it can build any report you need in seconds. It's just drag and drop. So I'm looking at the model. So guys, I kind of intentionally said, oh, how would you solve in DAX? So, and again, it's possible that would happen to you. Somebody would come to you and like, oh, they're talking in reports. They may or may not say, hey, write me a DAX formula for that. But you got to step back always and go back to the model. So we'll park these here, but think about the model. So if I look at this data, what do I see? I definitely see fiscal period. Right, so let's try and make it this guy. Okay, so I see fiscal period.
Mm-hmm.
What else do you see? Okay, cool. Fiscal period, I see. And whenever you see data in columns like this, the first thing that comes to mind starts with UN.
Yeah, unpivot.
Unpivot, exactly.
Yeah,
Yep. So unpivot. That's the first thing you should think of. But I do pause before I unpivot. So the pause is to make sure that I'm looking at apples, right? So imagine if every sale was an apple, then before I unpivot, I say, well, is this counting apples? It is. Okay, that's sales as apples. Is this counting apples? Yes, it is. Is this counting apples? Yes, it is. So if everything is counting apples, then you're pretty much set. I mean, you can just go and unpivot and it's going to be fine. So if we do unpivot, then we're not going to have these in columns. We would end up in rows. So this will be maybe file, something like that. By the way, if you end up with apples and oranges, typically you would not unpivot them, but sometimes you do. And if somebody's interested, I'll be happy to talk about that. Well, like, why would you still unpivot if you have apples and oranges? Imagine, I don't know, sales and order count, something like that. Right? So fiscal period is done, file is done, and then I think this one is simple, just amount, that dollar. Now, of course, in a realistic file, you would have more details to it. It'll have maybe product SKU, maybe department ID, maybe territory ID, but that's it, just the IDs. And again, so what I'm building here is a data table, And data tables are lanky, if you guys remember. Lanky. I had to look that up. Right, so they're skinny and tall. And they're very heavy with numbers, which is exactly what we got. We got IDs, we got amount, right? So it's just dates are numbers too. And then, so now we got a good data table, and now we can think of a lookup table. In this case, we don't have like the full table. There might be like product SKU, maybe something like territory ID, and department who sold, something like that, right? So we would have the lookup tables would be who, what, where, when, how. For now, we pretty much don't have these ones. So the only thing we have is when. All right. So now, even though this was shown to me in this format, it's very possible that but it's likely that the data itself is not coming in this way. If it's in a database, it might already be in this format, right? So it makes our job easier. Otherwise, I have seen in a whole variety of situations where a file is a physical file. It's a physical file, and it's every file in a folder. And of course, with Power BI, that part almost doesn't matter, because I don't care how you give me the data, in what format, which file, I don't care, because I know I can use a query editor to pull it in. So in this case, we have the data we're going to assume that it's coming in from this. And actually, I did prep the file, just so you don't watch me kind of go through the steps. Okay, let's see. So we have, so the same thing, the same structure, and the file name is redundant in my case. I guess I can get rid of that. Maybe I just kept it for labeling. So exact same thing we said. So fiscal period, file date, amount, and amount is called value here, right? So we got our table. And now let's get to work to do what we set out to do. Cool. Awesome, great. All right, so let's go here. And first, I'm just going to build this matrix. So if you've heard me talk about the way I think of DAX when I'm into the DAX mode, so now I have created my model. And again, it's a simplistic model, but oops, I'm not quite done. I didn't realize. So once I have my model pulled in, and again, in a real model, we would have other tables here, kind of product, territory, and so forth, right? So I always move the data table down below. And guys, I mean, if Rob Colley says it, does it. If Avi Singh says it, does it. If Matt Allington says it, does it. Maybe there's a reason. So, some people on YouTube give me grief for that. Like, come on, that's a silly way. But I move the data table down below, and I always make it tall. Why do I make it tall? To remind me that this is supposed to be lanky, right? And this is supposed to be squat, short, and wide. So I always make it tall. So always a visual reminder. And lookup tables are always up top. And then I connect the two. So let's connect. So we're mostly interested in the fiscal period, right? So the key date, we're interested in this one. We don't really care about that one yet. So we're going to connect, fiscal period, I think, is a date. So let's just connect the two. And they're organized in this way. Lookup tables up above, data table down below, because relationships flow downhill. You're always going to remember that. And the default is always one direction relationship. That's what I want to see, unless you can explain why you need a bidirectional relationship. Okay, cool. So we got that all set up. Let's go in here, and let's try fiscal data. And it's tempting to drag and just use the column. I would encourage you to always use measures, and bonus points to somebody who can say, why is that better? Why is that better than just dragging a column and choosing sum? So let's do revenue. So revenue is some fiscal data value. And the protocol here is that if you refer to a column, you always prefix this with the table name. And if you refer to a measure, which we might do later on, then you do not use the table name. Okay, so we got the revenue. Let's put it up here. Let's do the matrix. Let's just do some formatting. Auto, okay. Let's make it bigger so we can see it. Okay, cool. And now we have the fiscal period over here, and fiscal period, even though we have this field here, it's connected to my calendar. So typically, when I'm done with the model, when I publish it, I even hide this downhill connection. So whatever is connecting my lookup table, I hide this field. When I'm in development mode, I don't hide it. I'm not that quick to hide it because sometimes you need it for debugging, especially if you get blanks and stuff like that. So for now, can I hide it? I'll just keep it for now. But whenever it's connected, I'm not going to use that field. I'm going to use whatever is in my lookup table. So here, let's put month on there. Oh shoot. Who has done that? Dragged a column, created a hierarchy by mistake? Okay, good. Month, and hopefully I remember to sort it. Okay, so we got all the numbers, and now let's see if you can see by which file is it coming. Did that work? Ah, there we go. And let's see if we can sort that. File date. All right, so let's. I'm gonna take a screenshot of this and just put it next to our Excel window, and see that it kind of looks similar. Yep, pretty much does. All right. But again, we had not set out to create this. Yep. Okay. I don't know why I was doubting it. We wanted to be able to report this and go back and forth in time. So let's do that. So we're going to leave this one here. I don't really need the totals, do I? Actually, I do. So I'll leave that there. And we'll grab another one, which is kind of simpler. It doesn't have the file name. All right, cool. So here we have a kind of the fiscal month, and of course you can put something else on there if you want. The fiscal year, month year long. Should we try that? Let's try month year instead of that. Perfect. So yeah, that's totally up to you. But now we want to be able to go back and forth in time. So for that, what if we bring in the file name and make that a slicer? I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. Oh, oops, wrong one. Let's try this one. Okay. All right. Well, so we could, what happens if I say just show me a January file? So that one looks right, yeah. But if I click February, it's not right. January I know is not $10,000, right? January already had 100,000 here, so I know the right number is 110,000. I can kind of see it in my matrix, here. So of course I could select both, but then that becomes a little bit tedious, right? Imagine if you have the whole 12 months and I want to see November. Man, there's 11 clicks, or maybe is there a select all and all that stuff. Yeah, it's really tricky. So this is where I think Jen hit it right in the head. We're going to do kind of a cumulative total. So let's try that. So instead of this, let's just see. I'm going to copy all of this, and we'll go here and paste all of that. And instead of revenue, we're going to say cumulative revenue. And what I'm going to do really quickly, just so I can see the matrix, I don't want the matrix to be filtered, I'm going to turn off the filtering for that. So just format, edit interactions, and I'll uncheck this guy. So now if I click January, February, it's only impacting this visual. It's not filtering that one. So just so that I can cross-check numbers. Otherwise, how would I check January is supposed to be 110,000? Cool. So and in here, I'm going to take away revenue, and I need some kind of a cumulative on this file name. Now, how do I do that? Well, cumulative, now this is certainly a date. So I'm sure you could try something here. You could write a formula here, but really if it's a date, it needs to be connected to a calendar table. That should be the cardinal rule. If you have a single date in your data model, you should have a calendar table. And let's see, great way to get that, and one of the best ones, should I say, is the ultimate calendar table, my friend. So just go to my channel, youtube.com/Power BI Pro if you haven't grabbed it already. It's a pretty popular one. Just go to the ultimate calendar playlist, and all you have to do is grab that from there and copy paste. So I've already done that. That's how I created this table. So all I need to do is just to make a copy of that, and that'll be our file calendar. So copy. Oh, actually, I think there was duplicate. There we go. Duplicate, and it'll say I don't know, file calendar, file date. Doesn't matter. Now, when you do end up with two calendars like this, my best advice is that you rename every single column in one of these calendars so that they have a unique name. Right, so I'm not gonna rename all the columns. There are quite a few, but let's just say file date, file month. Maybe that's it. If I need something else, I'll come make sure to rename it, just so you don't get confused. I mean, otherwise I see a date column, I don't know which date it is. I don't know. So I want to be able to immediately be able to tell which date it is. I'm going to turn this off. So now we have the file connected to the file calendar. So I'm just going to bring that one over. So again, once you have something connected to a lookup table, you should use the fields in that lookup table. I'm just going to fix the sorting really quick. File month is sorted by file month. And again, bring in my file month over here. Let's do size. And oops, wait, I want it to be a slicer. It's not happy. Slicer field file month. Is it being filtered somehow? Does it not have data? Oops. I don't know. Let's try again. Refresh. Where are you? Refresh data. Okay. Whew. Close one there. All right. Awesome. So we go back here, and file month looks better. We go fix the size. And we got all that, and let's see how our data is connected. Oh, so it's not connected right now. So file date, we're gonna connect that to the file date in our file calendar. And now if you go back here, and so now let me bring back the revenue. Oops. So if we go revenue, so all we did is the same behavior we had earlier, but we have it using the calendar table. So January shows this, February still shows, 10,000, not what we would like it to show is just cumulative across the file month. There we go, right? So 110 is the right answer, but we want to be able to see this without having to select all prior months. And that is going to be really simple. Modeling, new measure. So revenue as of file month. It's kind of cumulative. So we go there, and you pull out our DAX magic one, which is calculate, and always reuse your measures. And this is what I was talking about. If you use a measure, reference a measure, you could specify a table name before that, but you should not. Just because you can, you shouldn't, right? So measures, you don't prefix with a table name. Columns, you do prefix. Bonus points for somebody who can tell me why. That's the reason. So calculate revenue, cool. But then we need cumulative, and that one, once you have the calendar table, is really easy. So of course, calendar table, I have made it easy for you. You just grab it, go to the Ultimate Calendar playlist, grab it from there. The two key characteristics of a calendar table, which cannot be violated. Well, actually, maybe there are more. Let's see. So one, it needs to have contiguous dates. It needs to have one column, which is date data type. You have to have that, right? That's number one. Number two is those dates have to be contiguous. Is there anything else? Contiguous dates. I think that's it. So why then do I have a calendar table with so many columns? Those other columns are not for Power BI. Power BI couldn't care less. They're for us humans, all right? And that's why, because it's the lookup table. So lookup tables can be wide. It's wide because it has all these attributes which are useful for humans. But as long as our calendar table has that calendar date, that is a parameter that I pass in every single time intelligence function. And okay, hold on. Hey, here folks, there's a little bit of typing sound on the phone. Just go on mute, and that'll be great. All right, so now we got revenue as a file month. Maybe let's see. Oops, I didn't want to do that. I wanted to see both of them together. So if you're having trouble dragging or new because they don't have borders, I drag them using the dots that show up. And sometimes the dots are at the bottom. Cool. And let's add this guy over there, and we'll see how these two behave. Maybe I'll move this guy down here. So remember, this guy is not being filtered by that. So now, oops. All right, almost there. Woo! Big reveal. Oh, dang, it's not formatted right. Hold on, guys. Currency. Okay, is it gonna work? Let's see. So January, everybody agrees. Oops, what's going on? It's oh boy, I didn't think about that. So right now this looks right? I mean, they both agree, except it's going on, which may seem odd. And often people say this and it's like, it's wrong. Well, technically it's not wrong. It's Power BI is calculated the right thing. So we'll come back and fix it. But let's focus on January, shall we? Focus, guys, January. So January says 100,000. As of the file date, the January file, right? As of the January file, it's 100,000. But now if you go to February, revenue as a file month, year. Oh, shoot. Why isn't it working? Oh, dang. Okay, who can see what the error is? Oh, okay. Steve gets the bonus points. Not using table names allows easy distinction between measure and a calculate column. So help me out, guys. This is good. Hey, so I expect it to work. This was the big reveal. Not working. What is wrong? Yeah, so there's something wrong in the measure. Yes, Vake. Somebody was paying attention. So I used the wrong calendar table. So in here, what I wanted to do was, I mean, I know I'm showing the fiscal period over here, which is coming from the calendar table, but to get the right number, to get to 115 over here, I needed to clear the file month, not the calendar, right? And maybe I should have renamed this, right? So I had fiscal period. This should have been fiscal calendar. Should I rename it? Rename it. And again, I would probably, if I did that, I would probably should also rename the columns themselves, possibly. Did that work? I think it. Oh, there we go. Fiscal calendar, right? So I wanted to clear the filter on the file date, but I used the calendar table. And again, if I had better names, maybe I would have caught myself there. So Vivek, chocolate for you, my friend. Treat yourself. I can't ship it to you, but in here, so we say not the fiscal calendar. Give me the file calendar, and oh boy, I think it's right. Sometimes it just nope, it's not happy. File calendar. Why aren't you happy, my friend? File calendar. File date. Yes, of course, because I renamed it. And now we see that as of February, so again, it was, let's zoom in. So again, this is not quite right? I mean, this is not what we wanted. We want it to be kind of cumulative. So that's what we got here. So now we can see March. And I realized that I copied this over, so the filtering, that's interesting. The edit interaction property didn't copy over. So this thing is now, hold on guys, hold on. Stay with me. If I go here and say don't filter, did that work? Oh shoot. If I select the slicer, then don't filter this. Perfect. Okay, that's so much better. Okay, so January is 100,000. I did something. Oh, there we go. Okay, cool. Let's see if we can move it all really close and just go through it one more time. All right, what do we got? Maybe move me out. So for January, 100,000. So this is the old one. This is the new one. And now if you go to February, focus on the new one. So it says 110, which is, from the January file plus the February file. So cumulative. If we go March, it's going to be say, okay, as of March, January was 115 and so forth. So that's it. That was our original goal. Now, of course, I would not have the revenue there. That one doesn't make sense. And all of this that we've been building is probably not going to be shown this way. It may be shown in a table like this. It may be shown in a graph, if you will. Let's move that. Let's do a line chart, and let's do if we clear it, right? So there we go. So we have a line chart or other visuals. So of course you have heard me talk about the three concepts that I talk about, and I call them pivots, but that's because I started off in Excel. That's where I wrote my first DAX measure. A lot of you did. So I call them the working pivot, reporting pivot, and debug pivot. So everything that I was doing, I would kind of classify that as kind of working pivot or working tables. I'm just doing them to just wrap my head around what I'm doing, be able to write my DAX measure, and then report maybe something different. It may be this line chart, maybe a table with other columns there. And the debug pivot comes into play when things are not going right, and it has its whole other properties. Whew. All right, cool. So a simple scenario, but I'll say that my best takeaway here was to not focus on the report. And guys, I can't tell you how many times I see people do it. Just the other day I was consulting with somebody, and their data model had a table which was called like a report, like something report. And what they had done was they had exported a report from some system and pulled it right into Power BI, and they were trying to make things work, trying to write DAX on that, and it was so hard. You got to take a step back, think about the model. It doesn't matter how the data is coming from, what shape it is. Think about what the model is, think about the data file, think about the lookup tables. Really basic stuff. I mean, it's so simple sometimes, but I see people again and again struggling with that. Awesome. So hopefully that was fun. So Steve, help me out. Was there any question related to this that we should cover? If not, are there any other questions that you saw?
I don't see any questions related to this model. There were some people that had suggestions that turned
All
out to be
right.
correct.
Great. Great.
And there's other, questions on other topics.
Okay.
One,
Anything? Well, I'll let you pick. Yeah, if you saw something that
well,
caught your attention.
just a question. Somebody had earlier about maybe using one of their data sets in an example, that sort of thing.
In this example?
Well, not necessarily in this example. I don't think so. I think they were just interested. I don't see it
Oh,
anymore on the list, but just
okay.
using
Yeah.
using their data. Maybe they'd like to just maybe they have a
Yeah.
specific issue and they'd like to have it
Ah,
addressed on a
cool. Yeah, we might try that. I
some point.
love doing that in kind of in the Talk Power BI calls. So let's see. So, folks, if you have any questions, type them in. And if you typed them before, just paste it again. And Steve's gonna keep an eye on that. Let me go to the phone. So we have Carl, Heather, Lisa, and of course Steve. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and ask now. Okay. Let's go to. Yeah. Is that Lisa?
No, just checking things out and watching from afar today.
That's
so
okay.
no
That.
questions, but it's looking easier to work with.
Yeah. So actually, shoot. Now that we're talking, I just remembered. Did you get the emails about the real Power BI? Do you think you're gonna be
Yes,
able to
and I
make the day?
replied. So, and then I also sent back to the Anna the my reply as well. And I'm working on getting the file ready and getting rid of any identifying information.
Got
It's taken a little longer than I thought. So,
okay.
but I also
does
had
the
two
date
potential.
work for you?
Huh?
Does the date work for you? Thursday?
That I do have a period of time that I will be out because you guys are 3 hours behind me.
Yeah.
So from
Okay.
4 to 6. What did I say? 4 to 6:30.
Yeah.
I have a meeting to go to for my daughter for for parent teacher thing and
We can
another
still make it work.
dance.
Yeah. So, folks, yeah, what we're talking about here is that I'm super excited for this. So, we had done a real Power BI project, and frankly, you've heard me say this before. Working with AdventureWorks is kind of an exception because I use that to teach the course. But otherwise, I think once you watch my videos, when I talk to my students, like, go apply it, go apply it, go apply it, because I feel hunting around for public data sets, whatever, UNICEF, UNESCO, blah, blah. There are tons of them out there, but that I feel like is hitting the tennis ball against the wall. So I love kind of real projects. So we had done this one inside the class, Real Power BI with Kimberly Marie, and that was phenomenal. Man, it blew me away, and the feedback was also incredibly positive from the students. And that was just the first time, and I know we're going to get better. So we're trying to run the next one pretty soon. With Lisa Randall, Real Power BI with Lisa Randall. I like the sound of that. So yeah, that's what's coming. Cool. That's it.
I might send you 2 data sets
Okay.
and I'll send you an email, separate email, about what the 2 are because
Yeah.
I don't know which project you would prefer to do. So because I've got probably potentially 2. So one's more of just trying to make my life easier.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one, would have a little bit more of the metrics. So, I'll send you both of those and we'll figure out the best one to move forward.
Sounds awesome. Look at that. All right, let's see what we got on the chat box. Come on, you guys are too quiet. Go in, type in your question, and if you're part of the Talk Power BI, should we open up the lines? If you want to call in, let's try that. How about that? Who wants to call in? So anybody who has joined the Talk Power BI club, Talk Power BI, there's a call-in button down at the bottom, and I don't know how. let's see. I think I have to activate it. So let's activate that, and you can call in and ask questions and show your data and all that stuff. So we'll try that. And meanwhile, let's see. Carlos, I imagine you mean Australia or somewhere? So Gerhard, how do you contact me? If you go to learnpowerbi.com, that's my website. There should be a contact Avi, contact me link over there. Of course, you can just send me an email. Email avi@avising.com. Actually, that's what the form does right now. It just sends me an email. I've been thinking about making like more of like a questionnaire, like, hey, what do you need help with? And of course, when are we going to work on a real data set? So Jen, I think we moved. Yeah, so I might have said that at some point. We moved it to next week because I want to coincide that with what we're running inside the class. So the plan is to run the real Power BI project with Lisa, and in Talk Power BI, we'll recap it. Obviously, so the last time it took 5 weeks. This time I'm trying a different approach. We're going to do a marathon session all day, 10 to 5. And I think that's very doable. Very, very doable. I go to clients and they build something phenomenal in 2 to 3 days. So one day I know we can make a lot of progress. So that's next week. Awesome. So, all right, guys. Well, I don't see any questions. And so last call. Frankly, this feels too soon. I don't want to say goodbye. So if you're in the Talk Power BI and if you do have a question and which you would rather ask, just go to the Insiders page and click on the call-in link, and we'll hang out for a few seconds. Maybe I'll chat up some folks who are on the phone in the meanwhile. Carl, my friend, how are you doing? Can we hear you? Wait, your mic does seem live, but... Oh, Kirill is here. Kirill, my friend, we missed you last week. I know you had a flight to catch or something. So, my friends, last week was one of the most epic Talk Power BI events. If you haven't witnessed it, go watch that. Go catch a recording. It was so much good stuff. I actually want to go back and watch it too. So there was this one, the fight, traditional BI versus agile. I don't know why I picked up agile Power BI, and Kirill was slated to be on, but we missed him. But that's great. We're gonna catch him some of the day, and he's pretty gung ho about Power BI. Cool, awesome. All right, guys. So I don't know. I will.
Did I fix my mic?
Yes, awesome. I can hear you now. What's going on?
Yeah. Oh, not much. I got finished with that Seattle project.
All right,
that we were talking about.
So that
when I was out there with you,
healthcare company, right?
Excuse me. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So no more weekly trips to Seattle.
All right, so. That's a relief. And so I know you teach at a local college or university. Is that throughout the year, or do you
is it specific?
Oh wait, you can't hear me now. Oh, bummer. Okay, we'll wait for Carl. But Asif has a question. Thank you, my friend. Like, what's going on? This is, originally it used to be just Q&A, and now I've started to do topics. But man, I'm here to answer your questions, my friends, right? And yeah, so let's see what Asif is saying, and hopefully I can help him. Oh, wait, what happened there? All right, so sometimes we get yeah, sometimes we get those single quotes. Yeah, that's a good point. So autocomplete certainly does that. So if you go back here, let's go to one of our measures. So if it has a space in there, I think it puts that in a single quote, and I think that's required. So if you don't use that, would it work? I don't think so. So if it's a space, there was a time when I avoided all spaces. Actually, I still tend to. It's an automatic habit. I started off in Unix where spaces were a problem, so everything was an underscore. My friends laugh at me for that. Like, Avi, it's not whatever 1980s anymore. So you need a quote there, and it also puts a quote around if it's like a reserved keyword, like if you would say calendar. Oops, calendar. So how do I do this? Oh, okay, got it. I renamed the table, but let's rename it back. Oh, oops, not this one. I wanted to rename the other one. Fiscal calendar. If we rename this back to calendar, then it puts a quote around it because it's also kind of not a reserved keyword, because clearly you can use it, but it's also, so let's try calendar. So notice here that the calendar table, and you can tell by the icon, right? So I can tell by the icon that this is a table, has the single quotes around it, but the function, that's not. So that's why if you use something which is inbuilt, I'm pretty sure if I named my table calculator, calculate table, then they would show up with single quotes as well. So I hope that was a question, and I hope that answered it.
Avi, we do have another question from Peter.
All right, so Peter is also an illustrious member of the Learn Power BI family. Peter probably answers more questions on our discussion group than everybody else combined. So Peter, if Peter is asking about the top N function not working, so the biggest problem I've had with top N is when there are ties. That does trip me up, and I've heard some solutions, some really crazy ones on to solve that. But yeah, that, so is it, maybe is that, otherwise I don't know, see if you can, if you have a file or a sample file, and of course you can also post it inside our student group. Yeah, I would definitely want to look at that. Oh, so Jen has the same problem. It works fine if I have a single value, not if there's a set. A rank X instead of filtered from number one. Oh, I see what you're saying. So yeah, so top N, if there are ties, it's gonna return 2 elements, and rank X isn't gonna be different either, because if there is a tie, it's gonna return the same ranking. It's gonna say both of them are 2. You just have to use, maybe, so if you are looking top N and you just want one value, you can't work with the set, then I would send that in to, so this is good, guys, you might get somewhere with this. I would say, I mean, frankly, you might, first non-blank, I would use that to select a value, and sometimes I don't care about the value. I'm like, if France and Germany are tied at third spot, I don't care. Just give me one. I don't care. Then you can, you can. I think you, the second parameter is blank. Otherwise, you can say this is what you use to break the tie. Use, I don't know, alphabetical or something like that. Cool. So let me write it down though. This is good stuff. So we go Peter Linden. When top N does not work, returns a set instead of single value. Let's try it in our data set. Are there 2 months which are the same? Dang it, they're not. Maybe I can change it. January, February. What if he made January and February the same? Or, oops, I messed everything up here, didn't I? Let me fix this back. Oh, by the way, if I didn't mention, you can any Talk Power BI file, any file that I create, you can just if you go to talkpowerbi.com, you can grab these as well. And I'm gonna change the calendar as well. Fiscal calendar. Yep. Cool. So I'm gonna save that, and I'm gonna save a copy of this, and let's work on top N. Oh boy, this is gonna be fun. So Jen, Peter, I think you can enjoy it, and I'm excited just by thinking about this. So, and it's one of those things which I'm sure I've encountered it, hopefully solved it, but then you forget about it, like, you know what? So let's go in here, and we're gonna say we're gonna call this guy. We're gonna give Peter credit for bringing that up, and we'll say top N, and rank X. How about that? Cool. So whole new ball game, and what we're gonna do here is get financial reporting, and we'll finance data. We're gonna hack some data so it has ties. Top N sample data. It's coming up, folks. All right, so what I'm thinking is February adds up to 105. Wait, 115. No, sorry. 110 if I made February 110. Oh, you know what? Sorry. Hold on, guys. Let's go back here. So August is 105, and who else is 105? This one is 115. So let's make August 115. I'm just looking to create a tie. Huh, that's weird. Nope. Almost there, folks. So August data for the August one will make it 115,000, and that way it's going to be a tie with January, which is 115. Okay, we got our data all prepped, and we have our example file, and we're gonna switch that to oh shoot, would it be nice if we had the top ranking? Let's sorry guys, one more. It'll be easier to make it really high. So this is 115. Maybe we're gonna make it 50,000 and 50,000. What is the highest? 200. Let's make it. It's gonna be good, I promise. Okay, so we got 300,000, and this one we're gonna say 300,000. Okay. Oops, I didn't realize I changed the wrong file, but that's okay. I'll undo it later. Oh gosh, hold on. Oh, maybe I should have picked a simpler data set. Let's try. Oh gosh, okay, I give up. Let's go in here and let's just create one. Home, enter data. And we're gonna say, we can just grab this number. And why didn't I think of that earlier? And this is date, and say date sales, something like that. Date sales. Okay. Woo. I'm gonna get rid of this guy. Okay, don't need this, don't need this. So we have sales. Let's rename this to calendar. We can hide the other ones. I'm gonna hide fiscal data and fiscal calendar, and make sure these two tables are connected. So ignore the hidden ones. We'll connect this guy with date. Oops. Yeah, so sometimes it would do that. The auto detect wouldn't quite get it right. So by default, you want one-to-many with the star at the bottom. So not one-to-one. So this is going to be sales is the many side, many to one, and you want single filtering for sure. Okay, so 1 star, perfect. That looks great. So now if you go here, and we're gonna make a measure, of course. Total sales equals sum sales amount. And guys, get used to that. Even if it's a really simple sum, try to avoid dragging in the column and just showing that. So let's try month. Where's month? Oh, I think I called it file month. Shoot. Rename. And total sales. Let's make it bigger so we can see. All right, currency. So if we sort by total sales, August is 600. Did I do that? Let's go back and edit the data. August. I wanted 2 ties. August. Come on. There we go. Alright, that should give us our tie. Okay, so now we got January and August are tied. So let's do a measure. What are we going to use? Just a table? That's good enough, I guess. Nope, it's not happy. Let's put total sales. And what if we say new measure. And we're going to use Matt Allington's variable approach. So by the way, if you haven't seen that, that is also one of the classic Talk Power BI sessions we've had. Really, really amazing. By the way, there is a playlist there, this one, and Talk Power BI live session, so you can go there to access all of the past ones. And of course, if you join the Talk Power BI Insiders Club at talkpowerbi.com, you would also have access to any file that we have created in the past. And you can see, oops, not that guy, that we have created a ton of files. We've had a lot of calls. Actually, I was trying to count how many calls we've had. If it's close to 50, we'll do something special, eh? All right, so the one that I pointed out to was this Power BI simplified DAX measures using variables. So if I hit all the right buttons, we're going to use that approach. So let's go over to our file, and total sales fine. We're going to create a new measure, and we'll say, top N result. Actually, I should have done this. Guys, I'm just going to do a little bit of a change so we can do it kind of step by step. I think that'll be more realistic. So stay with me here. So we're going to go back to sales, and I'm going to change January back to what it was so that there are no ties. Okay. And we're here. Let's do perfect. So we don't really care about total sales. Let's just add a new measure. And we'll call it top N explore, work in progress. So let's just call it explore. Let's try that. So we're just kind of testing things out. So we're going to start with top N. So top N is an X function similar to all the sum X, max X, and all that stuff. So you got to remember that. So there are a few functions which are X functions, but they don't have X in them. Can anybody name another very famous function which is an X function but doesn't have an X in there, which is that it's an iterator. It goes row by row, creating a row context. Yeah, so let's see who can get that answer. So which is the other one which doesn't have X in its name? So top N, so it's first says N value. How many do you want? Let's say I just want one. And what do I want? In this case, I want to see the top month, right? So I can say calendar month, but notice that it takes a table, right? So the autocomplete is helping you. You can see right there it's expecting a table. Now that's not a table, but you can create a table out of it. So you can say values. Now it's a table. So like, yeah, go to months and just go. That creates a table. So now it's a table, and then it's saying top N based on what. So I go row by row in that table, and then what do I calculate? So for this one, we're just going to say total sales. And so I'm not sure. This might work. This might not work. Let's see. And we're going to come in here, and we're going to move this guy to sales. And if I say top and explore, it does work, which is awesome. So I know values works the same way. So you notice how here I said, this one is a column, but you can make it a table by using values. But values, if there is a single value, then it can return that as a single value instead of a table. Table with one row, it doesn't do that, it returns single value. So it seems top N is behaving that way as well, which is great, right? So August. Now, so this is interesting. So what's going to happen if there are ties? Let's go back and change that. So we're going to say edit queries. Nazimuddin, my friend. Oh, you got a few answers. Steve, right on the buzzer. Filter. Yes. Filter is an X function without an X. Sometimes I wish they had actually called it filter X, but that's okay. It's the geeky side of me. I'm like, oh gosh, they should just make my life easy. Frankly, for a while, I remember the day that I realized that top n is a filter. Oh, top n is an X function. I'm like, oh, that makes so much sense. Cool. So now we got ties. So now let's see what happens here. Ooh. Well, there we go. Let's see. So it's saying till the multiple values. So as long as it was single value, it was returning 1. But now we got multiple values. So now it's returning Jan and August. And of course, and that's why I was said I was going to use Matt Allington's approach. So now you can't look inside the tables. Well, actually you can using DAX Studio. I don't know. I'm having so much fun. We might do that, guys. So a lot of you are still hanging on. We might do that. Like, how do I see which values are coming in? We'll play with that. But for now, what I'm going to do is use variables. So I'm going to say, I'm going to variable, and like I'll say top n table equals this. And what I'm going to say is return top n table. But I can't do that because, if I do that, I'll get the same error, right? But I can say, well, really? I mean, so sometimes, this is happening to me. Like, I'll say, really, man, it's returning 2. It shouldn't, right? But then the way to check that is you just say count rows. I say, well, if it's really a table, let's see what's going on. And what do you expect it to return? 2, right? So it's January, August. If there are more ties, it'll return 3. Now let's see if rank can solve that problem for us. And my theory is that it cannot. Ooh. Let's see. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to define a measure. And I'm going to say month rank equals rank x, another x function. This one is a little different. Trips people up because you have to use an all calendar month, yes. So go through all the months and then rank it by total sales. That's it. Yep, do the rest are optionals. And then we go here and okay, that's not what I expected. Shoot. This is really embarrassing. Rank X all calendar month by total sales. Dang it. What's going on? DAX Studio to a beginner. Matt Allington has a great resource for getting started. So I want to use that to distract. So help me out, guys. Sometimes in our rank all calendar, why wouldn't it work? Rank go all calendar month. Month rank. Wasn't there another variable in rank X for ties? Yeah, but if I could demonstrate this, I could show you the ties. I think that one doesn't help either. So oh my gosh, rank X all let's try. Okay, let's try something else. So let's say calculate table. I want to see or filter. Okay, what's going on here? So I'm saying give me all calendar month. Let's just do Matt Allington's example. So we'll say var rank X is this. Can you rank X on a measure? Yes, you can. That's what I'm trying to do. So variable rank X is maybe I can't use that. So rank X. I'm keeping my eyes peeled. Yeah, those were optional. So those were options. Okay, anyway, hopefully we can figure it out. Otherwise, I'll post a video later on. But gosh, I wanted to really do this because I think it's critical to the discussion we're having. So hopefully we can figure it out. So rank X return this, and then I'm going to say variable. I want to look inside all calendar months. So calendar table equals all month. Let's try that. Month, all calendar months. So I got that, and then I'm gonna say fine, show me how many rows are in there. Now what's my theory? My theory is this should have been bloody 12. There are 12 months in the calendar. Give me the 12 months. So but calendar table. So that's my theory, and we'll find out if we can make that work. So it is 12. So go through each month, rank them by total sales. I'm gonna loss here. Rank X. Why was it returning 1? So go through that month by month, and let's try that again. So all calendar month. Guys, all right, fine. I'll leave rank XB, but I'll post a video later. I'm sure it's something obvious that I'm missing. Let's solve this guy, and again, rank X doesn't quite solve it. It's embarrassing to talk about it. Let's go here. So top end. So top end. The problem there was that once it returned a set, then if there were ties, it always returns a set. Rank X, by the way, yeah, supposed to have been ranked this 1-1. So the rank X has ties, but what ties do is that this is going to be 1, this is going to be 1, but then you have a choice. Either the next one can be 2, and that's called dense ranking, or if you do not use dense ranking, then it will say 1, 1, and there are 2 already ranked, so this one would be 3. So that's the thing with the the ties. Like how does it's not really about the ties, it's about how it counts the next one. And if I could show it to work, that would be much better. But in here, let's go back to top and explore, and let's return top and table. So now it's a table, but of course, oops, let's try that again. So in here, we want to return one value, and maybe we want to return at random some value. So what we can say is that we got the so we'll have that. We can use that as a variable, and then we'll say or oh, actually this is going to be interesting. So we'll say first non-blank. I hope it works. If not, then follow-up video. All right, guys. Okay, so column. Dang it. Yeah. So it's. I think it's gonna take some work. So I'm not having a good run. The rank X has me totally thrown off balance. So I will solve it, but this is a great example. I think a good example, and I'll post it sometime later on my channel. Whew. All right. So sorry about that, folks, but that's good. That stuff happens. The best part is that we'll figure it out. No, I'm 100% sure of that. Okay. All right. Hey, we'll figure it out together. So that's gonna be fun. Chris facing calculate. All right, guys. So it's close to an hour and a half. Let's call it a day for today. Let's end on a winning note, shall we? Right. And I'll catch you next time, next Friday, same time. All right, my friends. Power on.